Hey guys, welcome back. So, I'm doing some floorboards today, and I'm just gonna kind of show you basic principle of how to lay it out. So, this is what I'm gonna replicate. And so what I did is, I got my overall dimension, and I add about a 1/4 inch to take up for this 1/4 inch uprise, if you can see it. So it kind of steps up. So the way I like to do it, I got my calipers. This here is roughly about 1 inch, 900 thousandths. So what I do is I set this to 1 inch, and I'm going to create my stepping line. So the fastest way to do it, instead of drawing it all out, is scribe and just go all the way around. That's going to be your border. This panel doesn't get any beads or anything on the inside, so it's kind of, okay? So now that I have that, if you can't justify that step, get you a set of, like a compass or dividers, stuff like that. But these dividers, you can come in and you can hit the 2 points for the correct height. So I'm down in the bend and I'm at the bend. So that's my gap. So what I like to do is, I know this got to be a 1/4 inch, right? So you get your calipers out, and right there, it's exactly at 250. So these are a helpful tool to kind of get you your height of what you're looking for. So now that I've got all this scribed, what I do, time consuming wise, I grab a hole saw. And the reason for the hole saw is this has radius turns. So what I'm going to do is I put it on where the 2 touch, and I trace my radius. That's going to give me the radius that I'm going to follow when I go to make my step flange. And on this particular panel, it's not only in the step flange, it's on the outer. You can use it to give you your radius outer edges as well. It's a perfect circle. Work smarter, not harder. Not try to figure out some. So as you can see, I've got my panel laid out and I got it scribed. At 7 inches, there's a bend here, which is right here. It's not a sharp bend in the break. So what I'm going to do, if you go over another video, over a 1 inch increment, I'm going to bump it about 15 to 20 degrees each line on the 1 inch increment. So it's going to be a radius in here. Up here, I'm doing it at a 1/2 inch radius. So I'm going to go over to the break, and I'm going to bend these first before I do the stepping. So what I'll do is, I think I've got everything, and see if you guys can see. Oop. So what I'm going to do, so you guys can still see everything that's going on. So I'm going to go over to the break, and I'm going to start bending this with the radius. see I've got my radius on both of them. So this is a little more. So all you have to do is kind of spring it back a little bit. That looks fairly close. This one here, okay, it looks pretty good. So the reason I did the radius is because when you go to put this step flange in it, in the bead roller, if it's a hard break, you won't get a clear line on it. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna trim the outer edges where I use the hole saw, just on the very outer edge of the panel. And I'll clean it up when I'm done. So now I'm going to go over to the bead roller and I'm going to start bead rolling. Actually, before I do that, it's a good habit to get in when you lay this out. Is to mark where your holes are and punch them, because once you do the step, it is going to be really hard to get your, I mean, you can drill them, but I use a Roper Whitney punch or a Rotex punch. I don't have a Rotex. I'd love to have one, but so go ahead and mark your holes and punch them prior. So this is what I use. Just a little punch. It sure saves from drilling. I could always go back and ring them out to the correct size that I need, but if you're like me and you don't like to drill a lot of holes, this saves you a ton of time. Okay, I've got all my holes punched. Makes it fairly easy. Now I'm going to go over to the bead roller and I'll start putting in my step. So on this one, I figured it out on another panel. It's a total of 3 turns down to get my 1/4 inch. So I'm going to start out with 1 so the panel doesn't get warped. Go all the way around, and then I'll increase my pressure. Or 1.5, I'm sorry. So the biggest deal on the bead roller is just keeping your material flat as possible to the dies. bead roller has a variable speed. It's kind of a helpful hand when you get into the tight radiuses, because you do have to slow down. So as you can see, I've got my profile of where I'm going with this. Now I'm just going to increase the pressure and make this into a 1/4 inch step bend. And the panel will distort on some of these edges. And I'll show you what I do on these flat edges. I go back to the brake and I just clamp it down to straighten it out. So I've got my step where I want it, but as you can see, this panel's kind of distorted. So I'm gonna go over to the brake and I'll put this in. See how it's kind of bent down from what I did? I'm gonna put it in the brake and kind of bump it up. Same with the top, and then I should be able to just put this in the corner and flatten this bend out. So as you can see, it's just your basic floor plan. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to clean it and then I'll fit it so you guys can see what I'm going with. Okay, so I got it in. I made that panel first, and I'm working my way forward because I had a straight edge. So the floor panels are done. Next step is to go in and cut the firewall, because the existing piece there, that used to have a flange that came down to the rocker, and that's where this panel bolts to. But I wanted to get the floors in because it gives me my right dimension from side to side. In this particular car, these floorboards bolt in. But as you can see, it turned out pretty good, a lot better than those beat up ones that were in there. So with these bolted in, it's the same concept. Instead of, if you're gonna spot weld, you could punch the smaller hole, you don't have to ream them out, and you spot weld it to the existing one. In my profession, what we would do is we would bend, make the transmission tunnel, and then we'd come in and we'd flare this edge here on these bottom panels up, like roll it up, build the tunnel, and then I would TIG weld and metal finish to where it looks like it's one piece. So as you guys can see, I mean, it's a pretty decent piece. What I'm concerned is making sure the floor kind of hits the same angle. That's a whole different ball game, is because I'm going to build that out of one piece and try to get it to come down. But as you can see, that's your plain Jane floorboard. I'm kind of re-engineering this back to stock, so I could have put bead rolls in here, you know, if it's for your car, but this is what this car gets. I don't like that it's bolted in. Moisture and stuff can get underneath, but that's the way that it works. So if you guys like this video, go over there and hit the like button. If you have any comments, go ahead and shoot them over to me. I'll get them answered as soon as I possibly can.